All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with Morning Express. Good morning. We continue with today's deliberations on the top stories, what you can expect in today's dailies. And we continue interrogating Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard and the Daily Nation, just taking a look at some of the stories you can expect, at least major part of them. In studio, I'm joined by Exen Iraqi Prof, who's an economist, Stephen Mwakesi, public policy analyst, and Mheshimiwa Martins Owino, member of parliament, Ndiwa constituency. Martins, your forte is politics, so let's talk briefly about it, just briefly, because a lot is happening, and clearly your competitors, 130 political campaigns in 30 days, are definitely hitting the ground running. So let's talk about the latest. Ruto in Kisumu, and according to your party, he's preparing to take over the opposition instruments. But it's not all smiles, even as Raila Odinga is set to tour the lower eastern region. And according to Wiper Party, they feel left out in the preparations for his tour in this particular area, threatening to boycott as well. So your deliberations on this, briefly.
All will be well. But let me also thank God for Raila, that he fought for freedom, democracy, that he can move to any part of this country and do your campaign. That is what we are seeing going around now. It's only a good reminder that sometimes when you are eating the oranges, please remember the person who planted them. We welcome BP in Kisumu because we understand politics. It's not about the person, but the issues he's saying and all that. So he came to Kisumu, he was welcome, but one sure thing we told him, I think, which is right, and I think he can do it very well, that prepare to be the opposition leader and grow up from there, because Baba has been there, been on those trenches, and now the country has opened up, and now prepared to do that. And that's why also Raila told him, just be ready to accept defeat when you're defeated, because you have done it twice, and that is democracy, to make the country move on. As for Kambani, I think those are brothers and sisters. We have a very cordial relationship with them. If there is any misunderstanding in arrangement of the Baba's visit there, I think they will sort it out. But people will turn up, and they will welcome Baba. Baba ran together with Kalonzo. I think there's no bad blood between the two. It could just be logistical or arrangement, whatever. It will be sorted out. But the bottom line in this politics, which I'm cherishing as a Kenyan, is that people can be free to go everywhere. You remember last election campaign, Rogers, the opponents could just jet in fast and jet out very quickly because the climate was toxic. We want it to be, to remain so, cordial, nice reception. If somebody is selling policies which you don't agree with, don't boo him, just keep quiet, get what you want, and vote what you the person you like when the ballot comes. That is what we want. Okay. That's decent democracy, and it is overdue.
Well, it's definitely a conducive environment right now. Mwakesi, I don't know, 130 campaigns in roughly 30 days. Let's start right there. Is a DP running sprint in a marathon? Because that has been promoted with the naysayers. And equally, do you believe One Kenya Alliance will truly make it to the ballot? A lot has been happening within that particular coalition. But what say you about that?
Jesse, let's give it to the Deputy President. He understands he has a very short period of time. That's his 8 months to actually sell his agenda across 47 counties. And I think he seems to have a very clear plan in his mind that he's looking for the presidency. He knows he must get 25% of the total vote tally in 24 counties. And so I believe what he's trying to do at this particular moment is to run ahead of the pack and make sure that he can at least get 25% in as many counties as possible, then move on to be able to cater for his strongholds later in the day. I appreciate that he's even taken the bold decision to go to Kisumu and Nyanza in particular, to go and show up votes from that particular region. I like his approach of saying that he wants to motivate Kenyans to move away from personalities to more of ideas, and he believes that with his bottom-up economic model he can be able to convince a lot more Kenyans to join him on this particular journey. And for me, I believe that with his foray into Nyanza, and especially Luo Nyanza, he'll be able to at least gain more numbers than were witnessed when he was running with Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, when you look at this particular perspective and compare with what you said about OKA, personally, I'm still very perturbed that the One Kenya Alliance is still moving slowly as compared to the rest of the other contenders. Presently, I think Mudavadi yesterday was very categorical that he's still in the running for the presidency. And he said no matter what happens, he will be on the ballot. We've seen Kalonzo Musyoka also make clear that he's moving towards the presidency. As he had said before that he's open to discussing with Ruto. Yesterday he said he's not interested in discussing with Ruto, and if anyone was to discuss anything with anyone, then they'd rather talk to Raila Odinga than William Ruto. With this double speak, it still shows that OKA is yet to really firm up on what they really want and who should be the front runner going forward. And this hesitancy and this lack of clear direction, especially from someone like Kalonzo, has really greatly impacted even his ability to hold his ground. You can see that William Ruto has been making forays into Kitui and Makueni, which are slowly being seen as his weakest links when it comes to his ability to galvanize the Kamba nation. And immediately after Raila has come back, his first attack is to go to Makueni, the same area where the Deputy President William Ruto has gone. So already these two front runners are creating the Kamba area to become a battleground zone, and slowly this is weakening his ability to even negotiate with partners going forward. So in my view, I think it is very prudent right now that they come together as OKA and clearly determine who their presidential flag bearer will be. Because if it continues within this particular space of time as it's happening right now, we'll end up having a situation whereby, like in Western Kenya, where it's a very big task for Mudavadi to galvanize Western Kenya, it will similarly become the same issue for Kalonzo in Cumberland. And with that, having decimated the two zones, that is Western and Cumberland, we will end up having only two front runners in this particular race, and they will, OKA Alliance will completely be rendered nugatory and incapable of mounting a serious campaign going forward into 2022. Okay. So in my considered view, I think it's about time that OKA moves forward and makes its declaration clear on who the flag bearer is. To do it post the 29th, when Jubilee will be making its decision on its ODM merger, to do it post December 9th, when Raila comes forward and says whether he's running or not, will be a bit too late to be able to mount anything serious or credible going forward. And all this while, William Ruto is moving to different counties as he moves to sell his agenda. So I think OKA needs to style up at this particular moment. They need to move forward. Okay. Every one of the members has already gotten a clear way forward from their party to become the presidential flag bearer. Let them go ahead and make a decision.
Well, I think everyone has gotten that clearance apart from Kalonzo Musyoka yet through the Wiper Party. But a lot is happening clearly in the political space. Exen Iraqi, we can't leave politics to politicians, of course. So add your voice to this briefly. And perhaps let's take a look at the angle of what will inform the running mate in next year's general election. A lot has been touted in terms of Mount Kenya region producing the running mate. But I beg to ask, a running mate coming from Mount Kenya, does it assure any presidential candidate of majority of the votes from that particular region? What say you?
I think, Rogers, before I react to your question, I need to mention, I need to show up what my panelists have just said. And it seems that when you sit with panelists who are politicians, you naturally become a politician. I'm supposed to be very neutral, but I'm becoming a politician. Not that I'm going to declare any gubernatorial or...
about to ask.
I'm not about to. But Ruto in Nyanza, Kalonzo, not Kalonzo, but Laira in Lower Eastern, it was one of the most... seeing Ruto in Nyanza made me a very proud Kenyan. Because for the first time, we are showing evidence of becoming a very mature democracy. as my Mheshimiwa said, that you can campaign where you want, you can visit where you want, say your policies, and let the voters decide. Number two, apart from visiting where you want, is that all presidential candidates are talking about economics. And those are two signs that are showing that this country is coming of age. This country is maturing. Of course, the other indicators are that we tolerate debt, and of course, we are very particular about women's rights. OCA, I think One Kenya Alliance will end up being a tiebreaker. We have UD on one side, you have Laira and ODM on one side, and I think Kalonzo is very right. Instead of PTRing katikati, we just get one side. And I think that might be what they are strategizing, that let these guys run, then we are going to sit somewhere and ask them, who want to take my hand? And if you give me what I want, then I can follow you. Okay. I think they are seeing themselves as a swing vote, but that can also backfire because it may become irrelevant. On running mate, I think this debate has become very, very hot, that the running mate must come from the mountains. Raila is talking about that, Ruto is talking about that, everybody is talking about that. And I think the thinking is that we have about 10 million voters from the mountain region. So if you can give them a running mate, you get a chunk of 10 million votes, and that makes it easy for you to win. The other reason why people think you should get somebody from running mate, a running mate from the mountain region, is they have had the presidency for a very long time. So they will not feel that they have been secluded from power if you get a running mate. But what excites the whole thing, and what makes it very exciting to me, is that if you get a running mate from with the current political dispensation, you are talking about the presidency. So the Central Kenya region will feel that they are part of the presidency. And they will be very settled. They will feel they can give you the votes because they will not just give you a deputy, but they will be part of the presidency. But we should also ask the counter question, what happens if you don't get a running mate from Central Kenya? What will happen? And I would be very happy to see what happens. But my hunch tells me UDA, okay, led by William Ruto, and the ODM led by Honorable Raila Odinga, they will get a running mate from Central Kenya. My hunch tells me one of them will get a ready, and that will really excite the political arena. And I look forward to that. I wish they had told us by now who the running mates are, so that we stop speculating. Okay. After all, you never know. I could be considered. But again, I don't have any political ambitions for now. Maybe after this, we can discuss with my fellow politicians.
Perhaps you can talk with them. So, gentlemen,
let me tell you something I don't know.
Okay. Let's talk about economy. Kidogo too, and I know politics definitely gets your blood flowing, but economy equally should. And KRA, Kenya Revenue Authority, are now spying on Kenyans in one way or the other, the Kenyans who are displaying a soft life, quote unquote lifestyles on social media, but are paying little to no taxes. I'd like to begin with the economists in the group, and just briefly, so we can get time to go all round through the panel. But what say you, Ex-Iraqi, about this particular move? Number one, will this buffer up in terms of the revenue collection? Is it a good move? And what do you read from this?
I would start by looking at Rogers and noticing that he's wearing a three-piece. I'm not wearing a three-piece. So you'll probably be a bigger focus by KRA than me, because you seem to be having a better lifestyle.
Looks can be deceiving.
Yes, looks can be deceiving. And I think that's my concern.
Yeah.
I read a very famous book called 1984 by George Orwell. He's more famous for writing The Animal Farm, where the big brother was always watching him. So people are concerned that KRA is infringing on their rights by always watching them. So when I go to sit with my friends, I'm very particular about the drink I take. I'm very particular about the car that I drive. But my bigger concern is, I think KRA should not confuse wealth and income. There are people who are very wealthy in this country, but they have no income. So we always tax the income and not the wealth. So unless we change the rule so that we now start taxing the wealth, that is not going to work. Because if I have 10 billion in shares and stocks, it's only when I sell those shares that now you can start taxing. As long as that wealth is mine, it has not been realized, it stays out of reach of the taxman. Number two, which I think is a bigger concern to me, is when you start targeting people like that, always focusing on what they are doing, people might start doing certain activities, and that might depress the consumption. Remember, a big component of the economy is consumption. What we eat every day, that creates demand in the system. So if you start watching people, whatever they do, you are watching over them, that may reduce the consumption, and KRA might actually get less money in the aid. But more importantly, I think KRA should stop focusing on the aid. They should start focusing on the people who give them taxes. In fact, what KRA should do with that money is to form a consultancy wing, so that they come to my business and tell me that if you did A, B, C, D, we believe you can generate more income and we get more taxes. So let's not just look at the head, but look at the whole supply chain where taxes are generated. That to me is better than always watching what I'm doing, what car I'm driving, whether I'm on the Instagram, and so on.
Okay, interesting. And Martins, as you add your voice to that, perhaps let you speak on that before we shift focus to this new tax proposals that MPs might discuss on and determine the fate going forward. Well, what say you about KRA and their new methods of perhaps bringing in more people into the tax bracket?
Thank you, Rogers. One thing which is very clear is that life is not taxes only. There is that intangible occupation of social nature which prevents people from doing things, including crime. Right now, people are going through tough time that if you gag them not to socialize by taxation, that energy might channel to another area, which will be more costly to the government than just avoiding to pay taxes. Number two, taxing people is one thing, using those taxes is another one. So I don't think it's a right move for the KRA. What they should do, which I think Professor Iraqi has said very clearly, is to look where we have those loopholes, those who are evading taxes. In fact, more taxes are out there with the wealthy people, more than what they are trying to get from around the social networks. So to us, no, don't go that area. It is a safety net for so many things that if let loose can cost the government a lot of money to fix. So leave it alone.
Briefly about members of parliament who are set to determine the fate of proposed tax increases on roughly 30 products, most probably bottled water, we have juice, motorcycles as well, boda boda. And this is definitely in the hands of members of parliament amid concerns about the high cost of living. Perhaps a quick reaction to that, since you might be voting on this as well.
Yeah, me, I'll oppose that already. Because you know what? I said it before, you cannot milk a cow to the veins. You will kick. Now, the motorcycle people, or the boda, that group now hosts even university graduates. And most of them really rides and return money to the owner of the bike. They don't own it. It's now we are having plans to make circles to make them own it. Now, water is life. Now, if you go to all these basics and start taxing them, I think it does make sense, because in all this we do, you want to preside over a government of people who are healthy, happy, and are doing their work. But if you gag them by taxes, I don't think you are going to get there. In fact, you may have a very rowdy community who are trying to vent out the same way we were talking about kids. And the adults, when they vent out in crime areas. And we don't want to improve that. So if you ask me, I'll study the bill, but I know anything that is going to tax more those who are struggling. In fact, the COVID has even made the economy of the household very, very difficult. I'll say no. But let me read it. That's my position. I don't want any more taxes on Kenyans. Let's look for money anywhere. And the ones we have in our hands, okay, let us use it wisely.
Okay, Mokesi, what say you briefly?
When Jesse, I look at this matter of KRA, I personally first would like to associate myself with all the views that have been raised by Professor Iraqi. I mean, it's important right now that we focus on the right things. It's about income, and when people are not generating income, to go after, because somebody has just driven past with a V8 that you bought 6 years ago, that does not help you in any way to be able to actually increase the kind of net revenues that you're receiving from KRA. I think the core concern that should be for KRA at this particular moment is the question of broadening the tax base, because at this particular juncture we are not doing enough to actually bring in more people within the tax administration structure. We've been talking about this, but we've not been doing enough about it. And that's why sometimes I feel some of these headlines that are being pushed out are meant to just appease the World Bank and IMF, who have been very categorical that KRA needs to do more in terms of creating tax revenue, rather than actually going down to capturing the revenues which are completely not within our tax administrative structures. So for me, the keen concern that the Commissioner General should be focused on is how do we really bring in the people who are presently not being within the tax administration structures. How do we even help more individuals to be able to say that I'm earning X amount of money, how can I be able to pay my taxes while also seeing the ripple effect of having paid my taxes, what happens to me now that I'm a citizen who is gladly paying tax? Are there any kind of rebates that I'm getting? Are there any kinds of benefits that I'm getting by virtue of me being a loyal taxpayer? Right now, to look after the current people who are basically out there living their best life, sometimes these people are the ones who are paying tax. So in essence, you're telling us that if you have been carrying out consumption, as has been rightly said, we want to even tax more because you're out there actually spending your money to actually generate more jobs and spur the economy. Now we want you to be reclusive and not be out there trying to spend the money that you've had earned. I think this is the wrong message that we'll be sending out. So I would really encourage, let's look for more ways of netting people to pay tax rather than focusing on the already overtaxed persons. Let's broaden that tax base. That's my argument when it comes to the issue of tax and KRA and how they look forward to working with Kenyans. And on the bill that was being proposed, no more taxes for Kenyans. I mean, we are at a point whereby we cannot handle it even further. It's important that we look at tax efficiency right now. Let's not look at taxing very crazy things. Like right now, the cost of LPG, and nobody seems to be listening to this, that the cost of just buying gas in this country right now is crazy. You know, a full tank of gas is costing almost 3,000 shillings. Where do you expect Kenyans to get this kind of money? And sometimes, you know, gas runs out on you just in the middle of your day. So if we are going to go to really help our people, we really now we should be looking at mechanisms of really cutting down taxes, especially on essential commodities that are important to making Kenyans feel that they can live another day. Okay. These are the things that we should be pushing forward for.
Okay, well noted right there. Exeni Raki, I'll give you the final say as we finalize these discussions.
So I agree with Mwakazi, the future governor.
Yeah.
Let's expand the tax base. Let's have more people pay taxes so that the burden is shared. And there are a lot of people who don't pay taxes in this country, and I'm sure KRA is aware of that. Reach them. Number two, let's show the Kenyan population what the taxes are used for. If they see their taxes are put into good use, they'll be more than willing to pay taxes. So when I go around, I will see plaques written that this road was opened by so-and-so. I want to see a lot of plaques in this country written that this project was sponsored by Kenya taxpayers, so that we feel proud of what we do with the taxes. We can also reduce the wastes that in terms of corruption and so on, so that we don't need to raise the taxes. And I think very important, we should not be raising taxes amid COVID-19. Already people are very depressed. And why should we raise taxes when Christmas is so near? Let's do that after Christmas or after COVID is over. I think Kenyans are overburdened.
Okay, we'll definitely see what MPs will have to say on that, even as they go ahead and vote. But tax efficiency is the big message right here. Gentlemen, many thanks for your time. Prof. Exeni Raki, economist, we've definitely appreciated your input. Martin Zawino, Member of Parliament, Ndiwa constituency, thanks for making time, as well as Stephen Mwakesi, future governor, quote unquote, but most importantly, public policy analyst. That's the capacity he was serving in right here. Well, gentlemen, allow us to take a short break right now. A lot has been said. So as I grab a cup of tea,